This hangout on air is live. Thank you for joining us on OreAni 2015 winter season lineup. Gao Gao. Today we have a small crowd with us. Pretty small. We're all experts. We got Albert.
Go, go.
We got Sean.
Gao Gao!
Sean!
Kumashak! Kumashak!
So, thank you guys for joining us and watching this. With 0 viewers. We're looking for people to join us.
Yeah, welcome to an extra Ronery edition of this hangout.
It'll be short and nice.
Well, what's the first title we got going on here? Or I should have been a little more prepared, I guess, since we had so much time.
I guess Rolling Girls has 9 points, so we can talk about that.
Of course, it's the one shot I have a screenshot for. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about it.
Well, I mean, we could go in whatever order. There's only a small crowd of 3.
Let's go ahead and talk about Rolling Girls. You got tons of pictures of it, don't you?
Not necessarily, but I will up some pictures. So, yeah, Rolling Girls. So the reason I got interested in this anime is, well, for one, it's a original production, original story by the same studio, Studio Wit, that did Attack on Titan and Uozuki no Reitetsu. So the director is the director that did Silver Spoon, and a bunch of other people who are veterans. Like the character designer is the same designer that did Tari Tari. He goes by the name of Tanu, I guess. And the scripts are by Yasuyuki Muto, who did Sengoku Basara. I forget what the English title is. So, you know, the previews came out. It looked pretty interesting. Original story is always a draw for me, and I decided to give it a go and check it out. The animation style is a little bit interesting. The color tones tend to be kind of pastel-ish, I would say, and the animation quality itself is really, really high. So what's the story about? Well, it's kind of got really wacky backstory that there was some sort of war that they call the Great Tokyo War, 10 years prior to the setting of the story. And as a result of that, all the higher-ups in the political scale, all the politicians suddenly disappeared. And then as a result of that, the country kind of collapsed into old feudal lines. So it broke up into about 10. Currently, Japan has 50 prefectures, but the old countries used to be much larger regional areas. So it broke up into 10 regions, of which I don't really know all the regions yet. And there are people with supernatural powers, basically superheroes, that appeared at the same time. And somehow the old capital, Tokyo, especially around the Comiket buildings, they declared was called the Twin. This is getting more convoluted. Yeah, the Twin Towers Declaration, where the conflicts between these old kingdoms, basically the new kingdoms, will be decided by conflicts between these superheroes that appeared, and they're called Mosa, or what are they called in English?
They, I'm seeing a sub that's calling them the best, and then all their support team is called the rest.
Yeah. In Japanese they're called Mosa, and then the rest are called Mobu, which is the mob or whatever.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, so the these disputes are settled with battles, but not necessarily battles. So we follow um, a rookie who is part of the rest called Nozomi, and she recently joined her not real sister, but the person she looks up to as her sister is actually the leader of the rest. But unbeknownst to her, she's also one of these superheroes, right? Matcha Green, which is freaking hilarious. So she dresses up in a Power Ranger costume, and matcha is green tea. So it's a complete play on names and words and everything. So yeah, it follows Nozomi as she first joins up with their local rest group that supports the best matcha green and the conflicts. So the first two episodes kind of introduces her character, and she is actually a very side character in these first two episodes. And then the third episode, we start following Nozomi and her strange group of friends slash traveling companions as she decides to go on a trip to go help out other people and even in other territories, because Matcha Green kind of got a name for settling a dispute between two other territories peacefully. So other people are writing into Matcha Green to help them settle things peacefully instead of an all-out battle. So that's kind of the weird and wacky backstory to this. So, hold on, let me get back to the pictures. Sorry, my computer is a little bit acting up. Okay, so let me screen share. The interesting thing I also found out is that their website is pretty extensive. So what you see is their website here. It's got everything from introduction, story, characters, trailers, news, events, Q&A, and there is a link somewhere in here, I think in the news, to what they call, they essentially have a wiki, right? And it's called Rollipedia, for Rolling Girls Wikipedia. But it's hilarious to me because in Japanese there is no RL distinction. So rolling is kind of shortened to Rori, right? It's Rollipedia, Lollipedia. Anyway, this has like all the terminologies of what the hell's going on. It's obviously in Japanese. They have information about, did that update? Yeah, about the Mosa and the mobs, and they also have per episode background information also. So, for example, we talk about Always Komima, which shows up in episode 3 as a destination, but
Always call me Ma. That makes me
yeah,
laugh every time.
it's hilarious. They also have things about in episode 2. Where is it? They even list the amusement park where the battle takes place, right? And things like the hyper matcha robot, which is, which is just a it's not even a dirigible. It's just a balloon that they made up to scare the opponents. So yeah, it's pretty wacky, and it seems like they did a lot of background building, world building, which I appreciate. As far as the story, where is it going? I'm not really sure. Who knows?
Yeah,
But the first,
I think they're going to tour Japan. That's just my guess, based on a synopsis that they released before the premiere of the show. So, my initial impression of the show before it aired was that there were going to be girls on motorcycles. They were going to roll through Japan, the rolling girls, which would make sense. Like that would be a neat show, because this weird world of a like broken up Japan is that like each nation state has sort of it, like Japan has turned into like hyper local culture, right? So it's just like local culture to the extreme. They go to Tokyo, and the Tokyo nation is called fucking always comic market, and it's just like Akihabara all day every day.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
And it seems like every region of Japan has sort of become that. So it kind of reminds me of the Kill la Kill arc, where they like go visit the other schools and you sort of observe their hyper local culture. But it also kind of reminds me of like oh, what was that? Yozakura Quartet, the new one. It it reminds me of other things like Uchoten Kazoku, and it's just like an eccentric, colorful show that you sort of watch it because it has such interesting and weird and plentiful design, and also like really nice animation set pieces in the first and second episode.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely agree with
understand
that.
understandably in episode 3 the animation gets a little cheap, or it sort of reverts to normal levels, but it's fine, because the world is interesting, the design is still there, and it still carries the show visually.
Mhm. Yeah, so the screenshot that you're currently seeing is a very stylized view of the Tokyo territory, and it's showing you where each episode took place. So episode 1, episode 2, and then episode 3, which is where comic market would be.
Always Kamiyuma.
Yeah, but obviously that's just one aspect of the show. The other thing I found in episode 3 really interesting was that a side character that appeared, who is basically the immigration lady, right? And when they reach Tokyo, it's a different country technically, so they have to go through immigration. And this immigration control person is speaking in a Tohoku northeast prefecture dialect. I mean, it's clearly very, very heavy dialect, and you don't really hear that in anime. It's usually Hyojungo, which is Japanese standard, which is the Tokyo Kanto area dialect, if you can even call it that. All the newscasters are taught to speak that way. Occasionally you'll have something like things from the Kansai area around Osaka, and on rare occasions you get something like the Muromi-san, which is set in Kyushu, I think. Barakamon also was set in Kyushu area. But it's pretty rare to hear someone speaking in a dialect that has a very, very heavy accent like the Tohoku region. So I thought that was really interesting too.
I had to watch the first episode twice because the premise, they just throw so much at you. Like the premise is really hard to get a grip on. There's a boatload of characters, lots of character dynamics. Uh, but yeah, it's fun. It's a dense show. There's a lot of stuff to appreciate in every episode. And as sort of an international fan, I like the premise that all of Japan's local culture has been exaggerated to like cartoony levels, and Japan is now this like weird world, and they're gonna road trip all the way through it supposedly, and that sounds like an awesome show.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm looking forward to see where they take the show, and I do hope that they travel across all the regions and get a better sense of where the dividing lines are for the old countries, or the new territories, I guess. So, yeah, I would definitely recommend that you check it out if you like basic adventure, if you like anime centered on girls, I guess, but not moe girls. And there's a little bit of action, a little bit of drama. It has a little bit of everything, so it's hard to nail down like a category or a genre. But
Yeah, it definitely wins through variety.
yeah,
And yeah, the girls are sort of moe, but sort of not. I like that it has weird character designs. Like anything can sell me on weird character designs, but it also has really good animation. And episodes 1 and 2 like totally sell me on those character designs.
yeah.
Like that, even that like ramen eating scene is totally legendary.
Yeah, and what happens in episode 2 with the ramen too?
Oh my gosh.
There, here's
Oh
the
boy.
here's a ramen battle that they impromptu have between the uh, Nozomi's sister, well, I forget her name, and the other Mosa, and they're just slurping it up. It's great. So, a couple other things to note. Nozomi is voiced by Ari Ozawa. She's 22 years old, and she's most famous for doing Chiyo Sakura in Gekkan Shoujo Nozaki-kun. Okay. Um,
Hmm.
and the others are all relative newcomers. So I think the veteran among them is Ai Hibiki, who is voiced by Risa Taneda, and she did Rize from Is the Order a Rabbit, and she's currently voicing Kaori from Your Lie in April. Um, one of the other girls, the wait a minute, yeah, Yukina Kosaka is voiced by Rina Hidaka. She's 20 years old, and she does Silica from Sword Art Online, and she also did Hozuki from Galilei Dana, which was not a very good film show that disappointed in the end. And then the fourth girl, Chiaya Misono, is voiced by Yukari Hanamori. She's 17 years old in real life, and this is her first main casting. So it's got some interesting talent. One way to keep production cheap is to hire newcomers, but I think they're doing a really good job voicing things and giving the characters, at least at this stage, pretty distinct personalities. So, what about you, Tenkan? Anything to add from your end?
Not really. I mean, it's really fun, just very imaginative. I do like the eye catch cards. Those are pretty fun to look at. And the only thing I like to note is that I think the first episode didn't have an opening, and then the second episode didn't have an ending. Like the videos, it was just a continuation. So you got extra video content going through that. So that was pretty fun.
Yeah, the OP and the ED are both being sung by the four main characters, and they make it seem like they're in a rock band. So I think Nick would also have appreciation for the music.
When I heard that opening, I thought like, man, this music's more hip than than the usual like anime song. It sounds like real music. And then Tyler pointed out in the community that they're actually doing covers of this like post-punk Japanese band.
Oh, yeah, I saw that post.
So yeah, then that explains everything basically.
Yeah, but I've enjoyed the characters a lot. I don't know if you've seen, but I've drawn quite a few pictures of a few of them. So can't get enough of it. So shall we move on to the next title?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
We brought in a special guest to help us talk about this.
Hello, hello. How's my volume?
Volume is low. Tenkan, could you adjust?
How about now?
Yeah, give me a second.
Say something again.
Give me a second.
Yeah, I can adjust it on my end.
It's
Hello,
definitely
hello,
better.
hello, hello. Still quiet?
No, it's all right.
Okay.
I think it's fine now.
I like
Wow.
it.
Okay.
I'm a member of the family.
What?
Full of pets
Yeah, I should
like
see my
me.
mic set up
Oops,
right
I
now.
muted myself.
Sorry.
I can't mute him.
Who's playing that?
Well, that was Chris, right? He just joined.
Yeah, I accidentally muted myself and I was trying to mute him.
You heard that there was a party going on. Contact collection.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah? Oh, you mean... Okay.
Okay.
So, do you guys want to just, like, start and I can just add in, or, like, you want me to... I have no idea how this usually works, so...
Well, I invited you here because I don't think any of us are really experts at contact collection. Like, I watched it, the first episode through the first battle, and then
Uh-huh.
then I stopped watching it because I sort of felt like this wasn't made for me. This was made for contact collection fans. So, just like roughly, what is contact collection, and what kind of expectations of that a fan would have for an anime adaptation?
Right. So, it's an adaptation of a video game, well, a Flash game, that started serviced in 2013. Uh, I think within the first year of its service, it got like approximately 1 million like active users. So it became really large, and the draw is that it has a lot of different characters based on, well, all of the characters are based on historical World War, the Japanese Navy's warships, and so there's a lot of characters that you can kind of grow to like. Uh,
So, do you like collect these ship girls, and then they battle like the evil sea thingies?
yeah, yeah. So in the Kantai collection world, they're called the Shinkai, the Deep Sea Fleet, I guess.
Hmm.
And the Western translation, I think they're going with, is the Abyss. So the card game it's to boil it down to its most basic premise. It's you collect girls, but it's mostly a lot of resource managing, and some people call it like a second job because you have to spend quite a bit of time doing that, resource managing. To sortie, it costs resources. To craft girls, it costs. To craft warships, to ship build, it costs resources, etc., etc. Um,
So, do they have like a business model
um,
there where you can buy boosts or you can buy assets, things like that?
yeah, there's also cash shop, but it's not really necessary.
Hmm.
Like for a while, it was so easy. Like it's the game's so simple that a lot of people scripted to click, just auto click and get
Awesome.
resources.
They
Yeah.
made macros to play that game. That's great.
Yeah, well, as I said, the draw is really on the characters. It's not about the gameplay.
Hmm.
Although during so normal maps are just you clear it once and you get to the next level and then clear that map too, etc. Some maps you can clear monthly to get extra points, but during event times they add special limited time maps which are very difficult to clear, and you get limited ships like Yamato, Musashi, and all those special ships that you can't get easily otherwise.
Okay.
Yeah. So in total, there's like 200 girls right now. Each of them have like their Kaizo, their refit stats, like different levels. So from the anime, I guess it's hard to see all of them. I think they've shown about like 50 girls so far. I don't know if half of them are gonna show up at all, which is kind of sad. But it's, I guess, difficult to character design for an anime, for a single like animator or a group of them to like convert it all into a single style, because art in the game is by like, I don't know, a dozen different artists, illustrators.
Okay.
Yeah. Um,
I
and the
guess
voice
All the
sorry,
characters
go
that
ahead.
they've shown, I was just
Sorry.
wondering if all the characters they've shown so far, are they
Uh-huh.
actually in the game?
Yeah, they're actually in the game.
Isn't the
Even
main
that main
character?
girl?
Yeah,
Main
Fubuki.
character.
I think is one of the starter girls, right?
Yeah, Fubuki's a starter girl. I wonder how my bandwidth is right now. It seems to be pretty terrible. I could show you the game, but I don't know if I can stream the video or not.
if I recall correctly, it basically just has like cards of the girls lined up, and then when you do an attack, some explosions get overlaid on some cards, and then some numbers pop out, right?
Yeah, pretty much, pretty much.
So
And
I think I've read that there's like no standard interpretation of the Kantai Collection's combat.
yeah, some people were hoping, including me, that for the battle scenes in the anime, they would be standing on like ship models because I don't know. I still can't get over the whole skating on water. Although I guess it's the choice they had thinking about it, because having to model the ships in 3D would have been a pain as well. Uh,
I guess they
yeah,
just
but
wanted to put the girls like, in the front of the action or something, so they made them into the ships. But yeah, they're basically just like water skiing. It's pretty
yeah.
weird. I was
Um,
also wondering, like, how comparable is it to Toho? Because that's like another popular, like, fan community-driven thing that has like a million bajillion girls.
mhm.
Even though that's never been adapted into an anime, because Kantai Collection has, because that's Kadokawa's thing, and they want to promote the shit out of that. But
Yep.
um, is there also like this vast universe of lore, of Kantai Collection lore, or is it pretty loose? Because I know that's the case with like Toho, like they all have elaborate backstories and whatnot.
Yeah. I guess Zune really encourages Dojin stuff,
Yeah.
but in Kadokawa's case, while they are okay with Dojinshi, like the manga and music, they actually actively discourages games that are based on Content Collection, so there are no third-party games, which
Yeah.
is funny and kind of goes to say how, like, as a game, Content Collection doesn't have much to offer per se. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. In the fandom world, I don't know. I For Toho there were, or I don't know if there still are, but a lot of like fan fictions and stuff. But I haven't heard of that for Content Collection. I've seen a lot of doujinshi, but most of them are just out of doujinshi and don't explore like the full potential. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's more commercial, I guess.
So, as a fan of Kantai Collection, like, what do you want out of the anime, and does the anime like fulfill that?
Uh, I was just hoping a very slice of lifey anime. As a fan of the game, I just wanted to see a lot of the girls show up animated.
Hmm.
And well, the second choice would have been the production actually taking a direction of like giving it a solid story.
Hmm.
And if you guys have seen episode 3, you would know that they are taking the latter direction. So um, a parallel thing to Madoka happened. So I don't know what episode 4 is going to be like, but maybe they will actually give it a good story.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and one interesting thing: the planes in the game and in the anime are piloted by little fairies, and there was one in the first episode. I can't remember if it was during the first battle or not, so don't know if you saw them, but
Planes are piloted by little fairies. I think I don't know, maybe I'm just making this up, maybe I'm crazy, but I think I saw something like water skiing bow and arrow ship girl, and she like shot an arrow, but then it turned into a plane like mid-flight.
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah, and those planes are. Let's see if I can get video working. Hold on, please. Let's see. Screen share, screen share.
Be on the left.
Yeah.
So I think the interesting thing, for a lot of fans is the voice. In the actual browser-based game, there are voices, and those are all by pretty famous voice actors.
Mm-hmm.
And to hear them actually, to gather this group of people to actually voice their counterparts in the anime is a pretty Herculean task to bring them all together. And many of them voice multiple characters.
Yeah, exactly.
So you look at the end roll credits and you realize, this person voiced 7 characters in this episode. So if you like voice acting and you follow voice actors and specific, trying to recognize them, this is a fun show just to try to spot, listen to the voice actor. Yep, that's the ferry that Sandy is sharing.
Yeah, that's a fair. You can see her piloting. I think that's a 0. And yes, about the end roll credit, I have a screenshot of that as well.
Oh, cool.
Over here, you can see like Toyama now voicing Kongo and her sisters, and Atago in the first episode. So 5 of them. And what's her name? Sakura Ayane, I think. Yeah, Sakura Ayane is voicing like Nagato, Mutsu, Sendai, Jinzu, Naka, and 3 other characters, including Shimakaze. So yeah, it's very interesting how some of the voice actors can actually pull different personalities in their voice.
Oh, that's cool.
And
Alright.
I think my bandwidth might be just good enough to give a quick glance of what the game looks like. So that's the home screen. Oh yeah, that low frame rate. And you can customize your office. Mine's just using the latest New Year's. No, not New Year's. Can't remember what the festival is. And if you poke your secretary, they speak to, give you a little line here, there. They have like hourly voice clips. Let's see. And you can compose a fleet of 6 girls. So here's my Yamato, who I recently acquired after like a year and a half of playing. Yeah, and these are the
So I
resources.
guess that makes sense why they're always in groups of 6.
OCD crazy.
You can only have a fleet of 6.
So there's a quick preview of the game.
There's also an extensive wiki on how to play the game. If you're really interested, we could throw that up as a link sometime. But it tells you how to get around the region lock, and you could use a VPN or you could use a hack on your browser to change your location setting.
Yeah. And one thing, the game's really heavily based on like RNG, so even the direction you go is often chosen by compass roll, like dice roll, but with a compass. And all the damage taken, dealt are RNG based, so it's kind of like doing slot machines. You don't know what the outcome's gonna be. So that's, I think, what draws some people into the gameplay. It does for me, actually. Like, I have no idea what's going to happen in each battle, even if I'm fully equipped.
So are you making decisions right now, or is it just playing itself?
Yeah, it's just playing itself. All decision you make is placing the girls, equipping them, and choosing the map, and choosing to proceed after each battle or not. Yeah, that's
okay, wow. I thought you'd at least be able to choose their attacks or something.
You can choose their formation, but
Yeah,
individual
formation.
attacks are not.
Hmm. So yeah, I just kicked the ass of that fleet. I think that's about it for what I have to add to the game or to this. I don't know if you guys have any other questions regarding it.
Are you enjoying the show so far?
The show, I was kind of heartbroken after episode 3. But otherwise, yes. I think it looks pretty solid, actually. Except some CG shots where the characters look a bit off-model. I think Fuki had like an angular ass on in episode 2. But aside from that, yeah, it looks quite decent for what it is, actually. So I'm quite happy. Yeah.
All right, cool. So yeah, I invited you to talk about Contact Collection, but if you want, you can hang out. We're
Yeah,
just
sure.
we're basically just going through like we voted on a Google Docs thing on like what shows you want to talk about the most. So we were just going to talk about those. If there's one that you want to talk about especially, then let us know, and we'll go to that one.
I'll just chime in whenever.
Okay, cool.
But I think the things that are coming up are like Yurikuma Arashi Yoru no Yaruman. Somebody voted for that. We just talked about Rolling Girls. And what else is on here? Death Parade.
I had a quick question about like, Sandy, what did you think of when they were being equipped going up to battle? That whole animation scene.
Sorry, what animation scene? Did I mishear that?
When they were getting equipped.
Oh, equipped. Yeah, that was really cool. Favorite part of episode 1, actually, the sortie scene. Episode 1 was like a lot of Akagi fan like, I guess. She was getting a lot of screen time. The equipment they have in the anime, in the character design, are pretty much what they have in the game. So yeah, it's pretty faithful.
And I guess the only other thing I have to add is that the show has some pretty nice eye catches. Take a look here. The main character.
Yeah,
And then
well,
the two sisters.
it's almost like Strike Witches with ships.
Is it similar to Strike Witches and like what's an anime that's most comparable to? Because I missed a lot of things that this kind of reminds me of, like Strike Witches and Girls Under Panzer or whatever. And is this like any of those, or is this something else?
It's more like Strike Witches. I haven't finished it. I only watched like the first half of season 1 so far, but Girls in Panzer is a bit different than these two. These two being Kankale and Strike Witches. Yeah.
So what I've heard is it's actually kind of comparable to Utope, those girls and guns. That girls are guns type of anime.
I guess the setting's a bit more like that. Although I can't even remember how Upote went. So was it? Yeah, I can't remember how that went at all, actually.
They made a lot of little jokes, like the reason why she had a G-string was because her stock was a certain way, and things like that. Because of the gun design, that's why they are.
Yeah, G-string. The character, also popular character, Shimakaze, with her thongs and gotta go fast. Her design. The designer said that she has thongs because when looked at from below, it kind of looks like her ship flag. Yeah. So there's a themes like that incorporated into the character designs of the girls.
All right, unless Chris wants to add anything, should we move on or?
Still muted.
You can unmute him, so I don't know why you haven't.
Maybe he's doing something.
Oh, we can move on.
All right. So next up we got Yuri Kuma Arashi.
Yes.
Oh man, what can you say about this show?
I think Sean has a lot to say about it.
Oh, this show's so dope. It's even just like the opening moments of every episode, I'm already cracking up. You know, with that like bear logo like coming at the camera. It's like, oh boy, time for another weird episode. So, man, where do I even start with this? This comes from
The director?
yeah, Kunihiko Ikuhara. I'm kind of glad that I haven't seen Utena at this point, because anytime he makes a new show, fans are always like, or sorry, fans are always like, well, this isn't as good as Utena, because Utena was his like uncompromised work, where with a Mawaru Penguin Drum that had like weird pacing issues. It's like it was kind of slow at the beginning, and then it got like crazy rushed at the end, and it totally lost me. And a lot of fans suspect that that was supposed to be a 3-season show that turned into 2 seasons. And now a lot of fans suspect that Yurikuma Arashi was supposed to be a 2-season show made into 1 season, which I can believe, because man, there are a whole lot of plot points every episode. But I actually like this way more than Penguin Drum. Partially because the pacing is more even though it's just like, even though it's totally frantic, but it's even. And it's somewhat comprehensible, where Penguin Drum, like a lot of times that show would just leave me in the dust. And also because the subject matter is more universal, I guess, because Penguin Drum had a whole lot of references to the like mid-90s subway sarin gas attack or something like that. And so as a foreigner watching that, I can only appreciate it from a distance. So the interesting thing about Yurikuma Arashi is it tackles a subject matter that's only been sort of like used as an element in Ikuhara's other anime, which is homosexuality. So that is like the central element of Yurikuma Arashi. That's what it's about. And Ikuhara was selling this show saying that this is going to be the Mobile Suit Gundam of the Yuri genre, you know, which kind of made me laugh. It's like, what the hell does that even mean? But now I'm starting to believe it. Because, well, and we know that Ikuhara always works through metaphors. So there's a whole lot of metaphors. Jeez, I don't know. I'm just going to get lost. But they all revolve around this topic of like, I suppose maybe it's like being openly gay, sort of like being out of the closet versus being in the closet. And they have all these metaphors and code words and mechanisms that revolve around this dilemma. You know, where the way they phrase it is like, will you be invisible or will you not turn your back on love? And those who decide not to turn their back on love are then targeted by various things. Like the latest episode sort of revealed the concept of the invisible storm, which targets all those who won't turn their back on love, or in other words, who targets all of those who are out of the closet, and they will like make them disappear, or something bad will happen and the world will become invisible. And they sort of, man, I don't know how much detail I want to go into it, but so aside from that, like the presentation is a lot of fun. The presentation, it makes me laugh all the time because it's just so zany. it has a lot of repetition, but it's used very well. It has a lot of like weird catchphrases and like visual gags that are used over and over. You know, it's kind of like in Utena, where how Utena would always like climb the spiral staircase. It had that rhythm to it. But in Yurikuma Arashi, I would say that it's even more bizarre. I don't know. Somebody help me out. I'm just getting lost. Like talking about this weird ass fucking show. It's a lot of fun though.
Yeah, it's definitely not your ordinary anime, and I'm surprised here it's only gonna be one core because it feels like it's packing in a lot more. But at the same time, yeah, there are various sites that are coming up trying to explain, what all these symbolism means or what the connotations. One thing that I recently came across. So I've only watched episode 1 and 2, by the way. And yeah, let me see. Yeah, screen sharing's on. So they've got a pretty nice website set up with a lot of information that you can get, but it's fairly standard to get like the innuendo and the double entendres and all the meaning behind the symbolisms. You need to really go outside. So I think was it Anime News Network that had a analysis of the first 3 episodes. After you watch it, you might want to go over there and take a look. I think Crunchyroll also had something. I might be wrong. For those who can, read Japanese, you could go. There are things that are websites explaining things. So, for example, this is a symbol that is, at least in what's written here, it's called the straight ally. So, meaning, you support LGBT rights, and it's a pink triangle surrounded by green, and you see that symbolism over and over again in the show. So her house, the
how about that?
school, look at that, right? The storage space. So yeah, there's a lot of deep meaning hidden in the show, and to discover all that is also quite interesting and fun. So
But
you have to watch it on multiple levels. Go ahead.
But it's not necessary to like decode all these little tidbits and have to. It's not like playing Minecraft or something. It's not like, well, I have to have the wiki window open so I can like. You don't have to do that. Like the show actually conveys its metaphors pretty well, and just by pondering them long enough, you can get the majority of it. So that's what I find fun about the show. Like, it's not just this incomprehensible mess that you need a website to decode for you. It's enticing and comprehensible enough that I found myself thinking about it. So by encoding all of its messages into these like cryptic metaphors, it forced me to think about its themes. So that's a really interesting thing that the show did. There are definitely other shows that have tried to do that, not as successfully as Yurikuma Arashi. So, Arashi is like full of metaphors, but it's also very compelling.
Right. I kind of put it on the level of the Monogatari series. What I can do is, watch the show and get a certain level of enjoyment and understanding, right? And by going back and for Monogatari, I've been reading the actual novels in Japanese. And then going back and rewatching it, you get a whole different level of enjoyment. You get another level. And I think that's the same kind of thing I'm finding in Yurikuma Arashi, which is you watch the show and you enjoy it for the visuals, the storytelling, just as presented. But if you want to dig deeper, there are plenty more to dig, right? It's like watching Bugs Bunny when you were a kid. You get that slapstick comedy, but when you're an adult and you rewatch it, it's still brilliant because there's all these things in there that an adult would get to. So you get multiple levels of enjoyment.
Yeah. I think after the show's over, I'm actually going to go watch Utena, even though it's like a bajillion episodes and it's kind of a magical girl thing. But you know, if that's the best of Ikuhara, then I have to check it out.
Yeah, I'm also in the Hall of Shame because I haven't watched Utena.
Yeah, I've only seen like 2 or 3 episodes, and then I watched the movie. Well, if you say that, that'll make Utena fans really mad. They're really mad that like everyone just watches the awesome movie and nobody watches the show. Yeah, Yurikuma Arashi. I'm glad that this is on the air, and I'm also glad that Rolling Girls is on the air. I'm glad that there's like these weird ass, colorful, zany shows on the air. Because we didn't have any last season, if I recall correctly. Like, last season was like Fate Zero, Shirobako, and all this sort of like well-made, workman-like fashion type anime. But we didn't have that like that
Pushing the
weird thing.
envelope. Yeah.
The zany stuff.
What are you thinking?
I've enjoyed it a lot. Um, I'm just with what you guys have been going through. The one thing I have to say about it is like it is kind of hard to just recommend to anyone. I would say that more of the otaku type people would enjoy this a lot more than if you were to just go to some Bleach watching or Naruto fans.
I
But
don't know.
it's fun.
Because some shows that are so zany, they become breakthroughs to like the mainstream, or not the mainstream per se, but like like Evangelion is a perfect example. Because even though it has all this like otaku culture in it, but it's just like so eccentric and zany that it like fascinates people who just want to see some weird shit from Japan. Then Evangelion totally has that appeal to it. I think Suzumiya Haruhi also had that appeal. And I don't think Yuriko Arashi is going to be a breakthrough hit, but it's plausible that if someone's in the mood for some like weird Japanese stuff, some weird anime thing, then Yuriko Arashi might be pretty interesting. It might work. So
Maybe,
the
but I
other
was
thing,
talking to someone that I know. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say that the other thing I wanted to say that even though it's like a seinen Yuri type show, I don't it you don't have to be a fan of that to watch Yurikuma Arashi, and I think I don't know if like I wonder what the opinion is from those like seinen Yuri type fans of Yurikuma Arashi, because this is like the first Yuri show that actually tackles its subject matter, like the ostensible thing about Yuri, and sort of it's real. This show gets real. It's not it's kind of interesting what they do with the genre, right? Because it's kind of like this psychosexual slasher type anime. The girls in the school are like dropping like flies every episode. Like 2 or 3 of them bite the dust every episode. It's actually really hard to keep track of. And they're all wondering like who's next, who's the next target of the bears, the bear people.
Go, go.
It's also really
Yeah,
mysterious.
the other
Like,
thing I kind of really,
yeah.
I'm wondering if I'm delayed.
You are slightly.
Yeah, go ahead though. I was going to change the subject.
Uh, okay, I hope this is better here. I changed my microphone settings. The only thing I wanted to say about this was just I love a lot of the phrases that they use in the show. A lot of the, like he just mentioned, Gao Gao was really fun to go around with other people that have seen the show. Just make fun little noises like that, gari gari gari, stuff like that. Also, what was it? What was your catchphrase? Shabadadu, John?
Oh yeah, it's like sore wa sexy, shabadadu. Yeah, and Kuma Shock is the obvious one. Like everyone knows that one. The Kuma Shock. I think in the last episode they introduced Yuri Dark. I
So
forget how
there's
it goes, but something like Yuri Darkru. Like the villainous Yuri, and it shows like this blackened Yuri flower blossoming. It's so corny, but it's so good. It's so cheesy.
yeah, and those things have made this show very enjoyable to me. Just watching that and just having fun with that makes me wonder what's going to come up next time. And it's so catchy that you just have to want to like make it your notification or your little ringtone, or at least that's how it's been for me. I think you even shared that little Kumashak website.
Yeah, someone
Yeah.
made like the Kumashak button
Oh
website.
my
You just push a
god.
button and it goes Kumashak, Kumashak.
Nothing will exceed the Nyampasu button.
Never, but oh man, it's just as good.
Yeah, so one thing to note is because of the dialogue is supposed to be symbolism laden, um, some of the subtitles there may be problems with. So just be aware of that. You might want to check out a couple of different versions if you're using the Methods network, because I've heard complaints about the subtitles that they're not conveying the right information. But
So
again,
so
that
which one? Is there one in particular? Because there's like the horrible subs slash Funimation, right?
right, yeah, I've heard complaints about that actually, but
Okay.
um, I I don't know. I haven't had time to investigate which other groups might have better subs or not. So I think there's a group that begins with an A that's doing.
Yeah, that's the one I'm watching. It's like Asenshi or something like that.
Yeah, so I read somewhere that they were actually pretty good on their metaphor,
Mm.
writing in metaphors. So uh, again, you might want to see, the first episode of both versions just to see which one might be more to your liking. Um, but just be aware of that because of that.
Actually, regarding subtitles, I have a website that I frequent just because the writer is so like kind of cocky almost, but he does a decent job of analyzing subtitles. So I'm just gonna paste it into the chat window here.
Oh yeah, Crymore.
Crymore.net.
Yeah, there
So
used to
there's
be
an
another
Asenshi
one.
review,
Hmm.
and there's also, let's see, Watashi review as well. I don't know if there's any other subs he reviewed. Oh, he's doing Funimation too, so
Hmm.
all three of them there.
Yeah, I've been having trouble with Funimation. Sean and I have this problem with their visual, whatever they're using for encoding their gamma is incorrect. Dark scenes just become too dark. And you can't see shit. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bright scenes also become too bright, and then you can't see shit, even though that's less common.
yeah,
But yeah, shows that I really care about, I skip over the Funimation slash horrible subs version. This is kind of a side topic, but man, Crunchyroll has really failed it this season. Like they got nothing.
I know, right?
it's kind of weird. It seems like they don't get licenses for a lot. Like the Japanese side is holding on to things almost. So I don't know what's going on with that. And
Mm.
I haven't seen, they started that daisuki.net, right? And I haven't seen a lot just recently on that. So I don't know if they have different plans for distribution, but Japan really needs to get a move on digital distribution. I'm really not happy with how they're behind.
Yeah. But anyway, one of the really interesting aspects about or about Yurikuma Arashi is the, what do they call that? Like the barrier court or something? I forget what the Japanese name is, but nobody really knows what that's about. That's like a thing that has yet to be decoded, and I've read many interpretations of what it could possibly be. And a lot of them tend to revolve around that, like, the judges are men, and so, you know, there's potential there for, like, why are the men judging the, like, whether sex between women can be approved? Like, there's something messed up about that. Is it making fun of, like, the seinen Yuri fandom? Is it some sort of patriarchal thing? And then I read an interview with the director who said that, like, oh yeah, they were originally going to be women, but then we changed them to men just because. But, you know, not to say that there isn't meaning to that, you know, because that is a decision that was made. But it's interesting. Like that's one of the more interpretive elements of the show. So Yurikuma Arashi is interesting in that way, that it's kind of like a conversation starter. It's like spurring everyone to, like, think about it, to write about it. So in wrapping everything in metaphors, it has actually succeeded in its goal, right?
Mm.
So yeah, Yurikuma Arashi is a cool show. I highly recommend it. I like it way more than Penguin Drum.
All right. Let's go ahead and move on. What do we have on the list next? What ones?
Assassination Classroom, I think. 4
Alright.
points. That's you. Ansatsu Kyoshu.
Assassination Classroom. It's a pretty simple premise, actually. The name kind of explains it.
Are they training to become assassins, or are they being assassinated in the class?
They're training to assassinate, actually, one target. Just one target.
Mm.
And their target is actually their teacher.
The hell kind of classroom is that?
And by
Well,
teacher,
the thing
we
is-
mean a.
Like,
You can see on my screen share what the teacher looks like.
Yeah, it's this weird thing. They make fun of him by calling him like an octopus type of thing every once in a while.
so is that like, do they graduate if they assassinate the teacher, or?
Well, the thing is that this creature destroyed the moon and now has threatened to destroy the planet.
Okay.
But he's given us a chance by giving this. He's going to teach us one classroom for 1 year, and the students in this class will use that time to assassinate him. And if they can assassinate him, basically to save the world.
And also, the government will give them some ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah, like a few million or something like that.
No, it's like in the billions, I think.
Yeah, 10 billion yen.
Yeah, and in case you weren't motivated enough.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is you see that in the picture, the classroom, the class that he's teaching is E-class, and they're all like these dropouts and rejects and shunned by the other class. They just couldn't hack it, so they got put into this loser class, right? So
it's like the opposite of Danganronpa.
I did not watch that, so I'll take your word for it. But
It's like they gathered like all the smartest students in the world, or like the best.
Mhm.
They were all the best at something. I haven't played the game or watched the anime. It's just I've heard about it.
Mhm. Yeah, so in Assassination Classroom, Ansatsu Kyoshu, you know, this weird creature is going to teach these kids for whatever reason, and there's some flashback from his point of view about making a promise to teach to someone who we think is dying. I don't know. But he made a promise, so he's keeping his promise. But it turns out, you know what? Despite all the crazy things going on, he's actually a good teacher. Like,
Really
he
good.
understands the kids. So someone, one of the podcasts I listened to is like, yeah, this is basically weird creature, but he's great teacher Onizuka, GTO.
Yeah, I can get behind that.
So, yeah, that's it in a nutshell, is how he put it. But I don't know. The animation's a little bit weird. Like the lines, um, the outline of the characters are really heavy, and it reminded me of like that Coppelian kind of style where it doesn't mesh well with the background. Like the characters look very distinctly on a separate layer than the background.
Yeah,
So
I
I'm
remember
not
that in
really,
Capellion too.
yeah, I'm not really liking it. And as you know, the story is okay, but it's also like very generic with a twist, and I'm not really.
So, how dire is the story? Are kids dying like every episode? Like,
No.
is there a
Well,
price to pay for trying to assassinate him and
the
failing?
thing is, he's the teacher, so he won't harm anyone as long as everyone follows the rules. Which
Hmm.
is like, the government can't do anything to him. No one can really try to attack him except for this classroom. As long as they follow those rules, he won't do anything. He'll stick to his role as a teacher. So he's actually trying to help this class a lot.
Weird.
But at the same time, he's always encouraging everyone to try to kill him. But this guy has like
You can move
so
at
high
Mach
specs.
20.
Yeah.
And he probably has like super perception, right?
Super reaction speeds and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's always making a jokes like they would shoot the gun at him, which shoots BBs, and these BBs are specially made that can hurt him. And he'll make jokes like when he dodges it, he's like, "Oh, by the time the bullet got here, I was able to go here, make ramen, eat it, iron my clothing and everything, and come back and catch this." It's just so crazy how what happens.
Yeah. During break times, he actually like flies over all over the world. Like in one episode, he like flew over to America to watch a baseball game and then to like feel up a baseball player, like his body with his tentacles, and then he came back later that episode to like actually give advices to one of his students who was a baseball player with the school, but then he joined the E class, and he was really depressed about that. So like the Koro Sensei, his name, uh, like helped mentally with like dealing with that and how to like use his like he felt up like his own student too with his tentacles, and he said, yeah, while the baseball player is better built up, like whatever this baseball player is. But you have a more supple wrist and all that, so you should use that to your ability, and then you will be a great player. Blah blah blah. And each episode has like a student that the show focuses on to like, or the teacher focuses on to like help with their I don't know growth, I guess. And I find that interesting.
Man, it does sound like GTO. I'm also randomly reminded of an XKCD like what if article about like what if you pitched a baseball at the speed of light, and then the answer was fusion would occur between the air and the baseball, and there would be like a huge nuclear explosion, and the city would be wiped out. So yeah, I guess he can move at Mach speeds, but also not like destroy the classroom in the process. Just by like wrecking the building with a sonic boom.
Yeah, so one interesting about this was I haven't had the chance, but I guess there was an OVA that was released a while ago,
Yeah.
and I kind of want to check that out soon and see how different it is, or if it's just like a one shot. But out of all the shows this season, I've really enjoyed this ending song, the ending credits, the most to this title.
Does it have a super deformed dancing character?
No, I think actually you saw it when you went to one of our hangouts. It was like that chalkboard drawing that was going around.
Yeah, I might have seen something like that.
Yeah, it's very enjoyable. The show's pretty decent, and I think it's a show that almost anyone can get into. So if you have those friends you want to try to get into anime, I think it's just kind of a decent little start thing you can get in for the season. Chris, you have anything to add with your little typing?
He says that he recommends it. It's fun, easy watch, and entertaining.
Nice.
So,
So what do we got next? What's after 4? 3?
3, Death Parade.
Am I the only one watching it?
I've watched episode 1 and did not have time to watch the others.
Okay. So Death Parade is the TV adaptation of a anime Mirai short called Death Billiards. So that was something made by Madhouse. And the premise was like two guys just wake up in this mysterious bar and the bartender says we're going to just press this button and by roulette a random game will be selected for you. Then you must play that game as if your life depends on it. And then they also discover that like the bar has no exits. There's other creepy details, so they start taking it seriously. Like, okay, this place is messed up, and we better play this game. And so they play pool, and over the course of the game, they realize that they are both, in fact, dead. Like, they have died. And the bar is a place where their souls are judged. And, you know, their true character will come out through the act of playing this game. And so eventually the game sort of devolves into violence, and they try and like kill each other with I forgot what you call them, but the sticks.
The Q sticks?
Yeah. And yeah, then one of them gets sent to heaven, one of them gets sent to hell, and the bartender says, I can't tell you which one got sent where. So they turn that into a show, and one would suspect that each episode there's a new couple that arrives, and they have to play a game, then they find out that they're dead, and one of them goes to heaven, one of them goes to hell, after like a nervous breakdown. And that's essentially what happens in the first episode of Death Parade. And I thought it kind of wrapped up in a way that was too neat and tidy, and you know I didn't have much faith in the show at that point. Then I watched the second episode, and there was a denouement, so to speak, where you sort of go behind the scenes of the bar, and the bartender and his assistants that are sort of involved in the setting up the game and also judging who goes to heaven and hell. And they talk about the last case, and then they realize that they made the wrong call and they didn't, you know, pick up on the right signals. And suddenly the show got really interesting because of that. Because it recognized that like the episode 1 was too neat and tidy. Episode 2 brings up those ambiguities. And then I don't really want to spoil episode 3, but another couple does, or they do arrive, and then they have to play a game, but it doesn't go the same way as all the others. So for now, the show has a lot of intrigue. You know, I don't really know what it's going to do, or if it's going to stick to some rhythm of like the death game and then the denouement and then the death game, then denouement. But yeah, the design is really good. The bar looks really nice, and the character designs are interesting. They're unusual. Like they're unusual character designs that are set up to be very expressive. And you definitely see like this super exaggerated just like spectacle of character acting in both the anime Mirai short and in the first episode of the show. And you know, necessarily that gets toned down in episodes 2 and 3 because they don't have the same budget. Even though episode 3 is actually pretty high quality. Like they play bowling in that one, and the bowling animation is really nice. But it's it's cool. It's not like it's different. It's different and cool because it has that anime Mirai origin. So so it's not like other late night anime. It's its own weird thing. And I don't really know where they're going to go with it, but it sort of it keeps my interest because they sort of it. I build up an expectation, and then the next episode breaks it, and then I'm in that position of like, okay, I don't know what this show is going to do. What is episode 4 going to be about? I'll have to find out next week.
Okay.
And the ambiguity is interesting because it brings up these issues of like, how do you even, on what basis do you judge a soul? On what basis do you decide that a soul should be obliterated or a soul should be reincarnated? So it's not actually heaven and hell. Maybe that's just how they translate it, but you can actually decode like who gets sent to heaven and hell just by looking at the masks above the elevators.
Mm.
So that a spoiler, but not really.
Yeah, no,
because they don't
because
tell
they
you.
actually say that in the first episode.
Yeah, they tell you who goes to heaven and hell, but then you notice that like the masks on the elevators are like swapped.
Yeah.
Then in the third episode, you see that they are both of one type of mask, so they both got sent to the same place. So that answers a question that viewers will inevitably have about like, does one always have to go to heaven, and the other always have to go to hell? And the answer is not necessarily.
Okay. Well, I will definitely check out the second and third episode based on your quick review here.
Yeah, I was sort of disappointed that upon seeing the two different masks, and I thought it was always going to be either black or white, but now that you mentioned that they can both get sent to the same place and all that, so that's much more interesting for me.
And then it also has this like weird ass opening. It's just like so inappropriate, and it has a whole lot of weird characters in it too that we haven't met. So there's definitely more elements in the hand of the show that it hasn't revealed yet.
Okay, cool.
Very nice. Thank you. So, just going down the list, I'm going to go to, what is this? Kofuku Graffiti?
Yeah. So, let
It's
me...
cooking down.
There we go. Yeah, so Kofuku Graffiti, I think they are translating as Gourmet Girl Graffiti in English. And the title is actually a play on words. Japanese tends to have a lot of homonyms, words that sound alike, but is written differently or means differently. And you could do that for each individual kanji too. So kofuku really means happiness, but in this case, what they used was fuku is the word for stomach or abdomen. So it's a play on words. Instead of just being happy, the way you read it would be happy, happy stomach, happy cooking. So it is a comedy / slice of life and about cooking. And let me just share this first. The way it opens is pretty hilarious because the entire show, let's see this one, and we'll see. The show starts off, and these are inari sushi, which is sushi rice and a fried tofu pocket that's been cooked in soy sauce, dashi, and sugar. All right. And it is being animated by Shaft. And the premise of the story is that the girl that you just saw, Ryo Machiko, is she lives by herself. She is in middle school, and her parents are overseas. So that's a head slap moment for me, but whatever. She's very good at cooking because her grandmother taught her everything, but her grandmother recently passed away, and she was living with her. And so she is a art student and goes to a special school. And one day, her second cousin, she is asked by her aunt to take care of her second cousin who lives out far in the country but wants to attend the art school, and so decides to come on the weekend to attend and take a cram school, like a class, so that she can, get used to it and try to apply. So as a result of that, Ryo starts taking care of Kirin, which is the other girl that you see. Let's see, screen share back on. Sure. So she's the little purple-haired girl that you see in the picture. Ryo is the middle girl, and one of her classmates is also shown there on the left, the brown, blonde-haired girl. And so the show is a slice of life about great food, and it's based on a 4-panel yonkoma manga. It's also the result of the author's misunderstanding of the term food porn. So the author apparently, when he first heard of the word food porn, thought that it was, well, as you can imagine, right? And you don't really understand that it was just about overwhelming amount of like gourmet food and postings about that. By the time he realized his mistake, he already had this idea about sensualizing eroticism about food, and so that's how the manga started. And Shaft is a perfect match for this type of thing. It's quite interesting. There are the Shaftisms in there, the head tilts, as always. Let's see, the weird angles that they play with, and sparkly effects and all kinds of things. So it is a very visually interesting show. The plot is pretty light, I would say, so far. Nothing to write home about, but it's certainly interesting enough as they explore different foods. So in the first one, it was about sushi, and also because Kirin becomes sick, it was about like comfort food for, in this case, was a nabe, a hot pot dish. The second episode, what was the second episode about? The omelette was in the third, right? But yeah, they focus on a couple of food items that they go through the process of cooking and cooking and trying to recreate, and they kind of break the fourth wall too as they stare in and say, "Hey, we got it completed, we made it," things like that. So it is very funny in that sense. And if you like, cute girls doing cooking food, and if you like food, and
cute girls eating food, really.
Cute girls eating food in a very, very sensual fashion, I would highly recommend it. So here's Kirin eating noodles. There you go, the Shaft head tilt. Shaft head tilt. Right? Her aunt force feeding real sakuramochi. Like, come on, eat it, eat it. Yeah, head tilt, broken neck. Head tilt. Like these impossible angles. It's hilarious. So, as you can see, that I'm a fan of it, and whether I think it's just going to continue on focusing on different foods and different, topics as they go through the year. So I think it will follow the season. But if you're tired of the single middle school girl living at home by herself, this is going to annoy you. Also, what middle school girl, even in Japan, especially in Japan these days, can cook like she can? I have no idea. All right, that's totally not possible. I don't know a single person that could cook like that when they're in middle school. You do take home ec classes, and I think in middle school and in elementary, but there's no way you can cook that well. All right, she is like at a pro level. But it is what it is. So if you can ignore the ridiculousness of that, it is all about the food.
I gotta ask, is the food porn aspect, is that like integral to the comedy? Are the characters aware of that, or is that just like how the show presents itself?
Oh no, they're actually aware. Like in the, I think second or third episode, they make a comment that, "Wow, you're eating it really sensually," or something like that, right?
Yeah, they did that in the first episode.
Is that something they're trying to do,
Um,
or is that just sort of like a on the side?
On purpose. It's probably on purpose. I don't know. I haven't read the original four-panel manga, and they have a wide leeway to adapt things.
Mhm.
So their Shaft is taking it where they do well with the uh, fan service-ish side and the head tilts and all of that. So it does make you hungry. Do not watch this if you're hungry. You should watch it after a meal because you're like, wow, I really need to go get these food items now.
Yep.
So one thing about this show that I thought was just really awkward and always confuses the hell out of me is she goes over there for one night, right?
Yeah,
She
on the
visits-
weekend.
Yeah, she has so much luggage with her every single time.
Yeah. What's your point?
It's always confusing.
I know,
Like,
it's-
what does she have? And then one of her bags looks like meat. Yeah, I thought that was kind of cool.
Yes. Actually, several other of her bags also look like food items. Like, I think one of her smaller bags looks like a rice ball, onigiri. So.
And more kind of like that. I think you were kind of mentioning. They kind of also make jokes like, "Oh, we saw these things in anime, comic books." They're always like, "There's no way you can make that in real life," type of thing. They make jokes about stuff like that.
Yeah. So yes, thumbs up from me, Albert, for Food Porn the Anime.
Thumbs up here too.
Yeah, thumbs up all the way. So what's next?
Eh,
Oh, someone organized this. What the heck?
Yoru no Yatterman.
What? Yatterman?
yep, that's you, Tank.
I don't have. Man, I thought I took screenshots of everything. I don't have this title either.
What?
I had a hangout where I took all these screenshots and I'm missing like everything.
Yeah, I know. Well, I wasn't in the Hangout, but I know you had it.
Oh well. Let me see here. Yeah, that was me. I want to talk about that. That's been a really fun show. From episode 1, it kind of gives you the introduction of who the characters are, what's going on. But it's also kind of strange because you still have a lot of mystery in what really happened, what's really going on. At the beginning, it's almost like the world was destroyed, something happened. There's a lot of destruction, and now you're in this place where it's very desolate and you don't know what's going on. And you always see like this giant wall.
Mm. Yeah,
And
so I guess need a little bit of background. Yoru no Yatterman was a semi-sequel. Time slot-wise, it was a sequel to the Time Bokan series. It was aimed at kids.
So this is original Yatterman, right?
Yeah, this is the original Yatterman.
Like-
So it's by Tatsunoko Production. They did Time Bokan, and then they did Yatarman after that. I forget exactly how many episodes it was, but in that, you have the three trio, a lady and her two underlings, which is a theme that you see throughout anime once you realize that. For example, that was also used in like Nadia, The Secret of Blue Water. But lady and her two underlings, usually a tall guy and usually a fat guy. Okay, they were going around stealing stuff, and so Yatterman and his psychic girl, they were opposing them, right? So good guy, bad guy. And apparently the good guys won, and this is set some number of years later, like centuries possibly later, where Yatterman won and established this peaceful kingdom, and the descendants of Doronjo and the bad guys got this crappy island place or wherever they are.
And also post-apocalypse, right?
Apparently, it's not exactly clear what happened yet, but they got sentenced to this crappy part of the world. The giant wall separates them, and the ocean, I think it's an ocean, separates them from the rest of the Yatterman kingdom. Right? So that's kind of the premise, and it starts following as this little girl, Leopard, that is revealed that she's one of the descendants of the original thief, Doronjo. So that's the setup.
Yeah, and as it continues on, like you said, they explained that they were exiled because of what the family did and their ancestors did.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's quite a few questions I've had when I was watching this, like, if they're exiled, are they the only ones there? But then you have, like, doctors and stuff that have come and attended to them and things like that. So I'm wondering, like, how far attached are they from people?
Yeah, that's not clear at all. And the other thing is, again, the timeline makes it seem like it's been many generations, right? And yet they're still being punished for their ancestors' behavior.
Yeah.
So there's a definite injustice in the world that you discover, right from the very first episode. You're like, that's not right.
But as the show starts off, it's kind of fun because it has this. Basically, it shows you how Leopard is growing up. You get to follow her through her birth to her little toddler years, her pranks and everything. It's just kind of heartwarming seeing all that. It's very fun to watch as she does all these little things, and of course with that little pig.
Yes.
And then as things go on, of course now something tragic happens, and she starts learning about who. How would I want to say this? She learns about the stories of Yatterman through a book, and then later on finds out the truth behind it. And because of the books she reads, she finds Yatterman to be these heroes, these people who help people in times of need. And as when she needs help, she decides to go to the Yatter Kingdom to get the Yattermen to, of course, save them, help them, and then they're basically rejected, kicked out. And now she's like, these guys aren't heroes. Heroes are meant to help people. So she goes to her, basically to her family roots. Maybe we weren't really evil. Maybe our ancestors weren't really that bad. They were trying to punish the evil Yatterman. So it's kind of fun now that as she's trying to get her. I don't know what they are. Are they like kind of like? I don't want to say they're servants, but they're probably just really close to the family, the two followers.
So yeah, they're also descended from the other two, her original Doronjo's original lackeys, minions, right? So they have since that time, whenever it was in the past, have continued to serve Doronjo's family line.
So, but so she gets them to follow her, and it's just really fun as you go about, and it's what you're really watching, or at least what I'm really watching for, is trying to understand what's really going on in this world, what's happening, because there's a lot of mystery as to what's really out there, and I believe she's only 9 years old, and she's doing all this.
Mm-hmm.
But again, a lot of the things that makes it funny too is just a lot of the little side jokes, and so it adds humor to some of the seriousness, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, there's the show has a lot of charisma. It comes from the guy who did Muromi-san. So I think like Gatchaman Crowds and like Casher and Sins, it's Tatsunoko giving one of their classic superhero things to this like weird director who then makes his own reimagining of it, like reimagining and or sequel of this old children's thing. So I've only seen episode 1 and 2, so I find it very hard to judge just ending at episode 2. Like episode 1 was pretty cool, you know. You can say that it was cliche, but I thought it was pretty well done. Lots of like nice animation in there. The world is it's enigmatic. You don't really know why it got that way, and the girl and the two guys growing up, like they sort of grow up in this isolated place, it seems like. So there is a lot of mystery in the world, and I suppose by claiming the mantle of their ancestors, like they will now try and unravel the mysteries. So I didn't see episode 3 because that came out today, and like I care about the show enough that I don't want to watch the Funimation version that's hard to look at. Episode 2 was really weird because it was just like it was full of Mamoru Oshii references, and Mamoru Oshii is he's an anime film director that I was really into back in the days when he actually made anime. Like Ghost in the Shell, like Pat Labor, like Angel's Egg and whatnot, and it had all those references just like packed into that episode so hard, and I've no idea why. Like someone must have been a really big Oshii fan, which is the last thing I expected. But yeah, that episode was weird. And yeah, then I didn't see episode 3, so I don't really know what to make of the show yet.
I haven't watched episode 3 either. The episode 2 seemed very different pacing-wise than episode 1, but I think it's a little bit more of the explanation of what's going on in the world, maybe, because you find that you find out not even the Yatterman Kingdom is not all roses and peaches and champagne and all that. So something's going on.
There's something ominous and dystopian about it, and they catch a glimpse of it in episode 2.
Yeah, dystopian's a good word for it. So, their perfect kingdom, something happened along the way. And it's pretty tyrannical, it seems like. Anyone else watch?
I didn't. No.
Did you watch to the 3rd episode?
That's what I'm trying to remember right now, if I did or not. I'm going to have to say no.
Okay.
Episode 2 is where they go to the kingdom, and then they escape, and then they end up in like somebody's home.
Yeah.
I think it ends around there.
Mm.
Yeah, so I haven't seen episode 3 either.
Yeah, well then I'll probably watch it after the hangout.
But it's very fun and very enjoyable. I hope they answer a lot more questions, but and I also kind of want to see their transformation, because when you see the opening, they're dressed very differently from how they are right now. So I kind of want to see how they get to that point.
Yeah, they kind of do this like like Tobey Maguire Spider-Man trilogy type thing where they decide to become heroes, and then they like craft these like really raggedy looking costumes, hero costumes for themselves, and that's what they're wearing. So but then you see the opening, and they look super snazzy, and they're doing all these like super moves. The opening is really cool. It's a really cool opening. So yeah, so that there's an implied progression there.
Yeah. And their main attack is that, what do you call that? The decopine? The forehead flick. I thought that was kind of cute. Just because of her age and stuff, how she thinks of attacking and stuff like that. It's very fun. Her innocence is pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we have next?
What do we have next? We don't have Nick and Triplet here to reliably talk about every anime.
Next one's mine.
I don't have a
Saenai
shot for that one.
Growing Sudatekata. So
Saikano, right?
Saikano for short. Share a screenshot here. Yep, it's up. So yes, Saikano for short is based on a light novel series of which there are 7, I think. Yeah, 7 volumes published to date. I think it's still ongoing. And it is about this boy. Hold on a second. Main characters. Here we go. So Aki Tomoya is the main protagonist. He's the boy way in the background that you see with the bicycle. And he is in high school. He is an otaku, and he does not care for 3D girls, as he puts it. So one day he has this fateful encounter, as he puts it, with a girl in with a white beret and a white one-piece dress, while the cherry blossoms are fluttering around, and he has this idea that I'm going to make this moment, come alive in the game that I'm going to make. So he tries to come up with essentially a doujin circle to make a game. And the anime started with the episode 0, which is where he's already has this doujin circle, and they're already working on the game. Okay, but then episode 1 goes back to when it all first started. So there's a kind of an interesting way to break it in, and you can kind of see where it's going to go. But along with the main heroine, which is Megumi Kato, way there in the back, that you barely see, because it turns out she is a very plain, easily forgettable. She doesn't have a lot of presence. She's lacking in charisma. But it doesn't mean that she's not pretty or anything. She's still pretty, but she just doesn't have an impact. Okay, and then the blonde girl is Eriri Spencer Sawamura, which is kind of Sandy's actually using her as an icon right now, but she is a blonde twin tail, half English, I believe, classmate, and also childhood friends with our main protagonist, Aki. So she has a lot going on. She's also a tsundere. And there is the dark-haired, long-haired girl is Utaha Kasuminaoka, and she is also a student in their school, a year older than they are. And it turns out she has a hidden talent, and she is a writer of light novels. The last one you see there with the purple hair and the short purple hair is, let's see, Izumi Hashima, is that the one? Wait. No. Yeah, okay, so she's Michiru Hyodo, and she is a musician and plays for a band. And she hasn't shown up in the first 2 episodes. You only saw her in episode 0. So it's about It is about, as you can tell, it is a harem show. It is about Aki trying to realize this dream of making this plain Kato, Megumi, into uh, the main girl, basically, and to recreate that moment that he had where he was so struck by everything. It was the perfect moment. Um, so what I like about this, I mean, there are many things not to like, right? There's harem. Aki is voiced by Yoshitsugu Matsuoka. He's Kirito's voice from Sword Art Online, and it sounds exactly like Kirito. So yeah, another harem show where he's the main character. You've got a lot of stereotypical tropes, stereotypes for the girls, but for some reason it seems to be well done. It's all put together well, and I'm not screaming at the screen every time that for other harem shows that I've watched in the past. So I will continue to watch it because I find the character interactions to be quite interesting. I also really, really like the main girl, Megumi Kato, and all her plainness and not standing out, and all that. She's kind of off the normal track. She's very unique, I think, and that's why I am watching it. And if you like harem shows, I would recommend it. If you have some idea about, what do doujin circles do? They call them circles, right? It's not just about making manga. Some of them do actually make games. Like a lot of the small Toho games comes out of doujin circles. So, if you have some interest in that otaku culture, I think this is a good show also to watch. And well, obviously, if you like a lot of girls, this is a good show to watch too.
There's a mystery that I want you to comment on. So I haven't really seen Sayakano. Maybe I saw like a few minutes of it, and then. But the weird thing is that this is a Noitamina show. Why is this a Noitamina show? Because Noitamina they're like a programming block that plays things that non-otaku audiences will find interesting, supposedly. So they, like ping pong. I'm just skimming through this list. Katanagatari, Psycho Pass, Usagi Drop, Anohana, Kuchu Budanko, Honey and Clover was their debut thing. So this seems like very uncharacteristic of Noitamina to be playing like this harem bishoujo thing.
Huh.
Do you think like outsiders, like non-otaku, would find this sort of thing interesting? Like, is there value there? Like, does it dig into otaku culture in a way that makes it accessible? Or like,
that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, the studio that's making it is, I think, A1. Yeah, A1 Pictures.
yeah.
They have a long history of making many quality shows. Why is it in the Noitamina block? That's a good question that I can't really answer. As far as whether it has an appeal to non-otaku, I find it hard to believe that it would. But again, introducing that doujin culture. I mean, everyone has heard of doujin and doujinshi, which is the manga and doujin games, I guess. But yeah, it's hard to say whether that could appeal to a wider audience, or if they're just trying to say, hey, this is also a part of our culture. Whether they're highlighting a portion that's underrepresented. I don't know. I don't know why it's in that block.
Yeah, I'm actually watching the show as well. And before it came out, I was watching the promotional video for it. And in that very video, which I linked in the chat, the two heroines, so Eriri and Utaha, are just bantering and well, because they both like Aki, and so they're like love rivals, so they're bantering. And Uta starts, why is this show even on Noitamina? Like, isn't this a freaking like LN adaptation, like a harem LN adaptation? And I can't remember how they followed through that on the promotional video, but in the first or the zeros, the 00 episode,
Mm-hmm.
there's a quote where Utaha is again questioning. Let's see if I can find it. I can't find it right now, but Utaha is questioning Edity's latest recommendation on or latest recommended show, and she's like, "Isn't this show pretty looking, just completely pretty looking, well animated but shallow show?" And Edity fires back, "It's people like you who I wish I could find the screenshots. It's pretty great. I don't know if you can remember it, Albert, but
Yeah, I remember that scene, but it's basically saying, it's people like you that look down upon it,
That's the very beginning of episode 00.
mhm.
yeah.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah.
Uta goes, it's people. So after saying that harem, all that jazz, she goes, "Who are behind the decline of the anime industry? Don't you know?" And then Airly fires back, "No, it's because of smug people like you who criticizes shows based on preconceived notions that it's on decline." And it's the first zeroth episode was really meta and interesting. So
Yeah, I forgot about that. So
Yeah, I remember seeing that scene anyway, because I think it took place in like one of those, like, do you call it a hot springs or a heated
yeah.
bath? And it was like super duper servicey, and they were juxtaposing that like meta commentary over it. It was
Hmm.
weird.
yeah, it is super surfacey. That especially that episode. But I mean, the Noitamina block also has like Your Lie in April currently. So they have done more mainstream-ish things.
Yes, if I could chime in, I would just like to add that Guilty Crown was on Noitamina.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was,
I mean, it's not to say that they won't play otaku stuff, but or just like really anime-y things. But Sayakano from the distance, it seems like it's on another level, like straight up light novel harem thing. Like I thought like this is exactly what Noitamino is supposed to be the alternative to
Right.
provide space for shows that are not that. So it's kind of weird.
Not going for the otaku shekels.
Yeah, they probably needed something to fill. It's possible because it's a 1 hour block, right? So Your Lie in April is continuing, so they might have needed another thing to quickly put in. I'm looking at their site now. They only have one show that's in queue for the next for the spring season, which is also slightly bizarre looking, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, last season was Psychopaths 2, and then
Yeah.
Lie in April. Yeah, Ping Pong was on opposite Nanana's Buried Treasure, which was not that good show. Gin no Saji was opposite Samurai Flamenco, right? So,
Yeah, if you go to Wikipedia and type in Noitamina, I'm just saying this to any viewers out there, you will get a list of all Noitamina shows. It's kind of handy because there was like a friend of mine was really into Honey and Clover, even though he's not an otaku, but he really likes that show because he watched it as a college student and it spoke to him, and now he's a professor and it speaks to him because there's also a professor in the show. And then we just started talking about anime. Then I'm like, there's this thing called Noitamina where they air shows that are not for otaku. And then, I sort of went through the list and recommended him stuff. Like I recommended Ping Pong. He like marathon that motherfucker in like a day.
A professor.
interesting.
So it's kind of handy that way, like Noitamina. It's like, what are shows that non-otaku might enjoy, and you'll find a few in there.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, interesting. They
So-
even had a live action show of Moyashimon.
So one quick thing I kind of wanted to mention, and was wondering if anyone has also confirmed, because someone made a post that all of the female voice actors are all the same for Orishura, so they've all been in group together before.
Really?
Uh, I don't think so. Maybe.
Let me check that, because I thought I remember looking this up for a post that I was gonna do, and
And the only other
Orishura
thing
was what, 2013 or 2012?
13, I'm gonna guess.
13. Well, no, because the actress for Kato Megumi, her name is Kiyono Yasuno. She wasn't in Orishura. So right off the
13,
bat, I don't think that's right.
2013 September it started.
I think they're all relatively younger too. So 2013.
Oh, and I would just like to mention while we're on the topic of voice actors, Kazumi Okauta is voiced by Kayano Ai, who has been really, really growing on me lately. And I think you've all heard her in her roles as Goth Loli-sama in Shirobako,
Sweet.
and as Captain Macbridge in, if you still haven't dropped it yet, in Aldemar Zero. I think she's really great, and she has quite a range, although these roles that I just mentioned are quite similar.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think they're from Oreshura. They're not. They're different.
I have shared a picture, I think the one that Tankun is talking about, of grouping the girls together because they share some of the similar character archetypes, but then, any harem shows would do, like the tsundere, the kudere, etc.
Alright, so another thing I kind of wanted to mention was one of the main reasons I like this show is how they make fun of all the different tropes that are in harem animes. Like they're always talking about, wait, what are you doing? You're breaking the flag, or you're
Yeah.
they're doing all these weird things, and they make fun of a lot of the harem tropes, and it's kind of interesting to see what all the different types as they mention them every once in a while. Like, oh yeah, that's pretty common in that show, or this happens here. And actually, I'm kind of surprised that this is our first harem title for this season, because there's a lot of harem type shows this season.
Yeah, I'm not watching most of them.
Like you got, what was it, Dog Days, Iska, the Joe Majin no Fafner.
Yeah, that one not that good. I sacrificed myself to watch 3 episodes, and I will be dropping it like it's hot potato. Not good.
Yeah, there's also Absolute Duo.
They're all voiced by the same dude.
Seiken Guy no World Break. It looks like another harem.
Yeah,
Shima Mao no Testament.
yeah.
That one's also awful.
The Testament one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen screenshots and the characters are already breaking down.
Oh,
like
really?
off model. Yeah.
Wow. I only watched the first 2 episodes. Yeah.
Yeah, to come back to Saikano, as a RM show, it's a bit different and refreshing. And while it looks really gorgeous too, sometimes they change the drawing style and put the colors into the outlines as well, and give the image like an overall cool or warm tone and all that. So there's a bit of an I don't know if I want to call it artistic for a harem show, but like a bit of an exploration in that too.
Yeah, they did some interesting things. So, yeah, I mean, again, if you like harem shows, check it out. If you like to know a little bit more about how doujin circles might work, I'm hoping they'll go more into that instead of just focusing on the girls. But we'll see.
Hmm.
All right.
That
I
seems to
think
be
that's it for today. So
yeah.
we'll continue the rest of the titles next week. Hopefully, we'll have a few others here. Nick, which looks like he just woke up, will be there, hopefully. And we'd like to welcome back Triply and anyone else here.
Uh,
So that's it. Thank you guys for watching. You guys have anything else to say?
I might catch up on All Noah Zero, even though I rage quit on it, just so I have something to rant about next week.
You should. You should.
All
yeah,
right.
you should.
'Cause there's a lot more raging that you can do. Oh
No.
man.
So,
And
and also
Junketsu,
hopefully I'll be a little more prepared. All right, Sandy, thank you for joining us as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the invite.
So that's it for today. Chris, hopefully next time you can talk.